my hot take is this, Chad. I think that we are going to get into the regular season. We're going to get into some games in the regular season, and Jason Robertson is still going to be holding out for that new contract. I'm a little concerned about this one for the Dallas Stars, man, for a couple of reasons. Obviously, the comments by owner Tom Gagliardi, and you look at the contracts that were just handed out for guys like Kyrou and Tim Stützle. They're just over $8 million a year. Robertson, 45 points. And then 79 last year with 41 goals. The guy has already produced more than those two players that I just mentioned. He's coming off a 41-goal season, and this guy wants to get paid, man. And the Stars just don't seem to want to do that right now. I think there's more of a desire to do a bridge deal there with a lower AAV, but man, he's a hell of a player and a star for them. And I'd like to see the Stars get him locked up for a long time as soon as possible. But here we are. We're getting close to the start of the season, less than a month away. Robertson is still unsigned, and just the comments from the owner and everything. So I'm looking at this as potentially a William Nylander situation from a few years back, and I think we're going to get into the regular season a little bit, and Robertson is going to be unsigned. What do you think?
I mean, that seems like a hot take that I could get behind, because I was thinking about this a couple weeks ago, man. As these deals have started to roll out, the two guys in St. Louis, and then the Tim Stützle deal, and everybody in between, it just seems like something's got to give for Robertson, especially since they did the deal with Ottinger as well. They're clearly trying. And it feels like something's got to give. But if you're Robertson and you're Robertson's camp, and you're just looking at the raw numbers, you have a lot of leverage here based on the amount of money that's been given out this offseason. So I could definitely see that happening. I just pulled up the Stars cap friendly right now. And they don't have a lot of space to work with. That's the problem right now. So they've got about $6 million in projected cap space for this season. And if you're projecting a contract for Robertson, a guy who broke into the league and has just torn it up ever since, been a point per game player. Not only that, but coming off the 40-goal season, which, I think people think that 30-goal seasons grow on trees now because of, how scoring has seen an increase over the last couple of years. But that's still a hard thing to do. 40 goals in an NHL season, especially being as young and inexperienced as Robertson. The kid is only 23 years old. So that is extremely impressive in its own right. If you're Robertson, do you take a bridge deal and bet on yourself? Maybe do a I don't even know. I'm thinking about numbers here.
Well, I know, for a bridge deal, Elliot Friedman's been saying a lot, a 7 times 3 kind of thing. But man, if I'm Robertson in his camp and seeing those deals that I mentioned earlier, for guys like Kyrou and Stützle,
yeah,
are you not looking at those and the way that he's produced and kind of thinking 9 times 8? Or 8.5 times 8 or something?
I would even say 9.5.
Yeah, exactly. The guy deserves to get paid, but the Dallas Stars are in a tough spot. And as we know, they're still committed for a few years yet to the two veterans in Sagan and Ben. And let's not forget that they have to get Roope Hintz done after this season as well.
And that's not going to be a cheap one either. And just looking at it as well, you've got a few others to get done next season as well. A Gurianov, will be relatively cheap compared to a guy like Hintz, but still, that's money that...
If he sticks around, for sure.
Yeah, that's money you've got to allocate. But yeah, man, just looking at it, it doesn't seem like anything, imagine if they signed Klingberg. What their cap situation would be now.
Jeez.
So
yeah, exactly.
Listen, that's a hot take, Harp, that I can get behind, because to me, I don't see a solution right now, especially if you're Jason Robertson and you're thinking, I'm worth 9.5 on a long-term deal. Like, what incentive do you have to sign for less? Like, sure, you want to play hockey, but if he holds out until, say, even December, say it is a William Nylander situation, that could be a way to kind of maximize your money long term.
And just in closing to that, and before we get on to your next hot take there, Chad, I think that sort of we're seeing contracts change. Obviously, guys come out of their entry-level deals or their next bridge deals or whatever, and they absolutely break out, and then they get paid. We saw that with Tage Thompson with the deal that he just got with the Sabres. And I think that teams are looking at the situation that the Calgary Flames got into. And I know I'm not the only one to say this, so I'm not trying to take credit for this, but teams are looking at that and they're like, you know what? We are going to lock up these young players for as long as we can, as soon as we can.
Yeah. Yeah. The problem is, to do that, you don't want to subtract from your team. And it looks like the Stars would have to do that if they want to sign Robertson long term. Another thing I'll say on this too is that, as we've seen this summer, you mentioned the Tage Thompson deal. There's been a shitload of money handed out, which leads me to believe that GMs know something that the public doesn't at this point, or GMs are predicting that the cap is going to skyrocket in the next couple years. We heard. Who was it? We heard Alan Walsh. Alan Walsh, the player agent for a ton of players. Yeah. So Alan Walsh predicted on his podcast, Agent Provocateur, that the cap will go up within the next couple years substantially. And by that meaning, getting upwards of almost 90 million. Yeah. Because the problem right now is that there's a lot of money in escrow from the COVID shutdown, as they renegotiated how to split the earnings for the league between the players and the owners. So there's a lot of money owed in escrow right now to the owners still from the players. But then after that, like, we saw record revenue last season, with the new TNT deal, projected record revenue again this season. So, you would expect the cap to go up as soon as the kind of lingerings from the COVID situation, are over. But I don't know, man, the amount of money being given out this offseason, it seems like GMs already have a number in mind because they're trying to get long-term deals done right now. And if you're the Dallas Stars, signing a 3-year deal for, say, 6.5 or something for Robertson, or 7, whatever it takes, or a 2-year deal at 7, that could be the worst decision made for the franchise, because then what happens in 2 or 3 years? The kid's going to be worth 12. It could be. So
exactly.
It's a risky business.
Exactly, and with the term being given out this summer, 4 years seemed to be kind of that number. 4 years kind of turned into the new 2 years. But with Dallas, like, there have been some deals kind of handed out the past couple off seasons that, just didn't make a lot of sense. Like the Suter deal, for example, and then 4.5 times 4 years for Mason Marchment this summer. And when you know that you have Robertson, Ottinger, who they got done, and Rupe Hintz all coming down the pipe, you really have to manage your cap, and especially in this sort of flat cap era that we're coming to the end of, it sounds like it's really important to manage your finances. And so here we are, and I'm glad you're on board with this hot take, because he's still not signed, and it's a big deal. The guy's earned it, and he's a star. I just think this is a situation that the Stars could be in.